Judy is Whammer, but I don't know if we have time to go into it in front of everybody. But I love inside jokes on Threads.
Ah, okay, go live. Let's see if it works. And if not, we'll just do a YouTube live so we can start. Because our time
It
frame
says recording live on Facebook.
You're good.
does it?
Awesome.
Okay, good.
Ah, perfect timing.
All right.
Oh, Whammers, love it. Thank you, Judy.
Okay, we got it. Woohoo! All right. And hi, Dean. Let me promote Dean. Make Dean a co-host. Make Dean a co-host. Ooh, we are so close to ready.
Me?
Okay. Let's see.
I'm quieter than most.
We promote one more.
Ryan, is this better?
Okay, do we have all our co-hosts now?
Thanks.
Um,
So Aurora is a co-host.
do we get everybody?
Well, I believe it's 6:05. So could you work on that on the side maybe with the list, and we can move into Canyon's land blessing?
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks, Heidi. Everybody, please welcome Canyon. Say Rudes. Did I say that correctly, Canyon?
Yeah.
Coyote woman.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us about your background and share with us the land blessing to get this going?
Mishmin Tuhis, good day. Conrakat Canyon, Coyote Woman, Sarah's Roots. First of all, I want to acknowledge where I come from. I am from Indian Canyon Mutsun Band of Costa and Ohlone people, daughter of tribal chairwoman Anne Marie Sayers. That being said, I am a California native. I identify as Ohlone. I have a little bit of Euromut ancestry. And right here, right now, I am in Tamian Ohlone territory. And for this gathering, we are acknowledging the Bay Area. And from San Francisco down to Monterey Bay, it's acknowledged as Ohlone. That is actually a misnomer because there's no such thing as the Ohlone tribe pre-1800s. That being said, many California indigenous peoples from this Bay Area identify with it, and some do not. Due to colonization, that has had a dramatic impact on us. However, there are 8 language dialects in that territory and many groups, many active groups that I highly recommend people become familiar with, because when we honor truth in history, when we honor the land and the ecological systems and the history and the peoples, the original stewards of the land, we can have a stronger connection. So to acknowledge indigenous protocol, we become familiar with the native lands that we are on. And my mother and my grandmother believe that when song, ceremony, and dancing stops, so does the earth. I too believe that. And for the effort of bringing us together in community, for the effort of honoring truth in history, and so we can all be accountable community members. And so we can think about how our actions and our words not only impact ourselves, our community, our environment, but the next 7 generations, and how many of those decisions need that consideration. I want to offer a grandmother song because to honor our grandmothers, their grandmothers, and in all, Mother Earth, for without them and without her, we would not be here. We share this time and space together for a reason. So it's with that humility, that gratitude, that present-mindedness that I offer this grandmother song. And sometimes I invite people to say, oh, at the end of the song, so that way the message goes out. It's the California Native version of applause. So it helps with our prayers. So this is Canyon's grandmother song. And I use my regalia, because Native peoples don't wear costumes, as an instrument. So, moi moi o kawana, moi moi o ka, moi moi no, moi moi o ko, moi moi o ne, o konale, moi moi o konale. Moi moi o kawan, moi moi o ko, moi moi no, moi moi o ko, moi moi o ne, o konale, moi moi o konale, moi moi o kawan, moi moi o ko. Moi moi no, moi moi o ko, moi moi o ne, Moy, moy, hey, ooh, coolly. No son and oh, and a big oh.
Oh.
It's so very important that we honor truth in history. And when I talk about Indigenous peoples and cultures and communities, it's so very important that when you talk about, make reference to, impact the environment or the ecological system or the next generation with your audience, you need to have Indigenous stewards and community members offering their perspective, because nothing about us without us. So we honor the past to shape the future, and I hope you all consider what does it mean to honor Native land and acknowledge these histories that have not been brought into our education systems as frequently. So thank you. Oh.
That's lovely. Thank you, Canyon.
So much, Canyon. Appreciate that.
Great.
So checking in that everybody's in. Is there anyone waiting in the background at all? Waiting to be let in? And you're muted, Heidi.
I believe we have everyone. You want to look really quick before we start at the panelist and attendee list and tell me if I missed anybody. We have 18 panelists right now.
18
If folks,
panelists.
if folks who are in the attendees can raise their hand if they need to be led onto the panelists, that would help us out.
Yeah, that would help tremendously.
Great. So I'll just
Can you
I'll start
unmute
sharing my screen.
my audio? I mean, excuse me, my video. I'm unable to get into video.
Maureen cannot get into video. You surely should be able to. Oh, you're not a co-host again. Okay, here we go. Let's try this, Maureen. Try that one.
Oh,
There you are. Okay, and let me make sure that for some reason it keeps going back and forth. There we go.
And I'm sharing my screen now. I just want to see if everybody can see it.
I can see it.
See that Derek has raised his hand.
Okay, Derek. Okay, let me go to that. I wish we could have more than one host. That would make things so much easier.
Yeah. So everybody can see see the slides at this moment. Just one big slide up here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the world's first Restore A Thon, Hack the Bay and Delta, a co-creation between the Contra Costa Resource Conservation District and the Hack for Earth team. So Restore A Thons are bioregionally focused. And as Canyon so gracefully showed us, this through connection to the land, through this native practice, we're nested in the location of the San Francisco Bay and the Delta, of which this is a visual of. And we're focused on solutions here, but team members can be anywhere around the world and plug in to solve our local ecological problems together. We're solutions minded. That's the key piece. From historical context, maybe not the last time there was a plague, but one of the most notable times in human history when there was a plague in Renaissance, the Renaissance happened afterwards in Europe. So there's an opportunity that arises when people are cordoned off in their homes and not able to get out, and they can sort of think about things a little differently than they ever have in the times of the rat race and stuff. So we've all gotten a moment to take a breath. We stopped our commuting, and now there's an opportunity for a new renaissance. And I think everyone here is motivated to restore our local ecology. So let's encourage and push for an ecological renaissance. What is a Restore A Thon? It's actually taking the best practices from DARPA, the military think tank that created the internet. But we're concentrated on life affirming and life acceleration, potentially rather than the military's goals. So firstly, I don't know if my father's in the audience. He was supposed to be. I wanted to thank him for, hey, Dad. Thank you for the gift of life. And I love you dearly. Thanks for being here. And the DARPA model has three particular elements that I believe we also share. And that's ambitious goals, which I'd put out there that if Restore-a-thons happen in every bioregion in the planet, we can reverse the 6 mass extinction event on planet Earth. That's the ambitious goal. Temporary project teams. One of the things, the reason why DARPA is so successful is they can pull in talent from all around the world. And the opportunity to pull in talent sometimes arises by saying, hey, there's a set start time, a set end time. You have the opportunity to step in here, make some real impact in your life, and then go back to whatever it is you do afterwards It's not a marriage commitment, it's a short-term commitment. And then independence. One of the key things here is we have the opportunity and the ability to fail. Heck, if you fail a little bit, that's the boldness of innovation. You could just blame it on Hack the Bay and Delta. It was just an experiment for the moment. But if we are successful, we can be super successful. So we have a moment to step outside of our traditional day-to-day roles and step into, the possibility of doing things we've never done before. And it's a super exciting opportunity. Thank you all for joining. Another piece that separates those of us here today at Hack the Bay and Delta is we're action-oriented. We have to talk a little bit to give context before we can get the teams up and running, but we aren't a talking heads organization. We're people who get the job done. Collaboration is key. General Assembly, premier tech bootcamp organization has teamed up with us through our wonderful team member, Ryan Sharing, has connected us there and brought us some really great talent that we can potentially plug into some teams. The team at Methuen Architectural and Design Firm is donating 3 senior level people's design talent, as well as Friday luncheons. These are a very, very exciting opportunity to plug in with some of the world's best design resources at your fingertips, because we're all mission aligned. And the Contra Costa Resource Conservation District. In my past, I've never experienced government at its finest. And I have to say, CCRCD is government at its finest. They are mission aligned in making the planet a better place, and nimble, quick, innovative, and have an understanding of the private sector as well as the public sector. And it's really a pleasure to work with getting this event started. And I look forward to working deeper on some of these teams. What are the teams? Well, this innovation, flower, I guess, is what it kind of has evolved into. It started off with the Hack for Earth model, started off with the 4 gray circles. We started off with the EcoHero, who roots our teams as like the roots of a plant with subject matter expertise. And they're the catalyst who can really motivate people to take action. Then the next pedal is design, which we talked about Methuen as sort of a design partner and head design organization. But there are plenty of other designers who see the opportunity to use design thinking to transform our society at large. Then there's the business role, rooted in getting us resources and making sure project timelines get accomplished. And science and technology. It's a very important piece to be rooted in technical depth. And some of our projects require scientists, other of our projects require technological developers. But either way, that role's a very important piece in the team flower. And teaming up with CCRCD really gave us an opportunity to look at this Hack for Earth model and take it to a different level. And so we added the community piece, because some of our projects are just super powerful and are going to require community engagement and involvement in order to execute. Most notably the Rodeo Living Shoreline, the Rodeo Living Levee, and the Save Crockett Waterfront Park. Those 3 real cornerstone projects, it really inspired this community role. And we hope if you're a community member or community activist, you can see yourself fitting into that central piece. Lastly, we're results oriented. Part of the portion about being action oriented is that, and not being a talking head, is there is the possibility of failure, but there's also the possibility of incredible success. So we are going to base ourselves in startup best practices. I've already shared with the teams lean business canvas, which is sort of like a template for a project that instead of writing a business plan, which was all the rage of the 1980s, we now do lean templates, and they can be adjusted for public policy as well as for nonprofits, and gives you an opportunity in 20 to 30 minutes, get a high level sketch up of what your business is about. And if you take action, bring it out into the marketplace and find out different perspectives, you can toss that last iteration and create a completely new one. So it creates agility and nimbleness that is essential for us to accomplish large scale, impactful ecological results. Now off to the event logistics. If somebody could share on the links page, please. On the chat page, the breakout rooms are at 7:30. We're going to change Zoom links. So we're going to have that Zoom link posted on the chat consistently. We'll do it probably every 15, 20 minutes. And then to make it easier, we're going to ask that you sign up for the breakout rooms in a Google Sheet, which on that Google Sheet has the Zoom link as well as contacts for all the team leads. So if you have a question for a team lead as they're talking about their project, just jot down their email and send them an email. And my email's in there as well as the admin email for Hack the Bay of Delta. So you just CC one of those on there so I can see what's going on and make sure that everybody's as responsive as possible. But yeah, if you're really interested in the project and you just need some clarification, please don't hesitate to reach out in an email if you don't get your question answered in the breakout rooms. And then lastly, the key piece to all this, and you'll find out our strategy as we go, but our first and second degree networks are where most of our power lies and where resources lie that many of us don't even realize. So the Hack for Earth method gives us an opportunity to mine our networks in a way we've never thought possible. Nick Bertulis posted a really great shout out for team members for his team tonight. They got huge fanfare online. People that take this approach for both team building and also we're going to take a similar approach to business development and obtaining patronage. Those of us who have been taking action to make the planet a better place have fans that we don't even know exist yet. And it's our duty to take action, reach out to our communities, connect with people, find new allies, and find the gold that's under the seat, because there's plenty of it. And restoration is truly all of our responsibility. Lastly, same thread, get in the driver's seat. And that's our website, just to stay in touch with everything that's going on. And next up is Chris Lim, the Executive Director of CCRCD.
Great, thanks, John. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Lim. I'm the Executive Director with Contra Costa Resource Conservation District. I just want to give a quick shout out to John and all the effort that he's put into this. It's been really great. We had a little bit of a slow going there at the beginning, and I'm happy that we're at this point right now, and I see the potential, and so I'm grateful to you for that, so thank you. So quickly, I'm just here to talk about the RCD a little bit, and how this kind of fits into what we want to be doing with our work. So for folks that aren't familiar, the Contra Costa Resource Conservation District, we are a non-regulatory special district of the state, which means that we kind of inhabit this space that's not quite full-on government agency, and also not a 501c3. We're kind of in between. And that gives us advantages, it gives us some disadvantages, but really we provide a service to the community. So special districts are Other special districts are like fire stations or wastewater treatment plants. So we provide this very specific service. And for us, it's our mission. Our mission is to conserve the natural resources of Contra Costa County. And we do that by partnerships. They're all voluntary partnerships. So whether that's with farmers and ranchers, which have been our historical partners, but also classrooms and teachers and other agencies and nonprofits. And this other one that I'm really wanting to explore is partnerships with private businesses and corporations. That's something that is sort of outside our normal sphere. You know, I know kind of the folks in our environmental field, but this opportunity and this event is really great because it allows us to branch out into folks that we don't normally get to interact with on a daily basis. So I think for us, being able to incorporate that into our work and to have people know about our projects and to know about the work that we're trying to accomplish is huge for us. You know, and I'm actually originally from Contra Costa, so it's a real special place to be doing this kind of restoration work. And then to see all these folks here who are have a stake in it as well too. And you know, I recognize some folks, and but there's a lot of new folks. And I think that's what makes this event so powerful and impactful. Contra Costa is a great place to do this work because we have such a wide range of different habitats. You know, we can go all the way from the shoreline up to the hills. We go from urban to urban to rural. and everything in between. We have different folks from all over that make up Contra Costa. So this work is really deeply meaningful to me. And it's great for all of you to be on this journey as well. You know, for me, doing this work and really being able to transform our programs. You know, oftentimes our environmental field was about developing projects and going into communities and then sort of just leaving it and not really being able to keep up with it or maintain it. But I'd really like to design programs that that we provide jobs and we provide skills to the community, that we inspire young folks to support these programs and know why we're doing these programs or these projects. And then when we have people trained up and interested in the work, they'll continue to support it and they'll be the stewards of this project or the program and hopefully keep those skills in the community and keep the benefits within the community, and we can grow our network and grow our impact that way. And so I've been doing this for about 20 years now, and I like to refer to it as the restoration economy. If folks are familiar with, you know, writing grants and, you know, getting donations and things like that. But that sort of restoration community and economy kind of stays in these environmental circles. But then, you know, events like this, to be able to expand that and to bring resources and ideas and technology that, you know, to get a new fresh look at some of these projects and how we can make these things happen faster and how we can create more resilient watersheds for today and for the future. You know, a huge part of my work is about inspiring future folks to get involved in this kind of work. Because for me, this is generational work. You know, we're at a time right now where we're really at a pivot point. It's sort of make or break right now. And, you know, if we can do something to help our future generations be more successful, to be able to be more resilient in their watersheds and facing the challenges that they have upcoming, to me, that's success. So thank you again. I mean, this is a huge opportunity and I can see the potential, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, or the next time we do this. But thank you for everybody for participating. And we hope that it's rewarding and it's fun. And I hope that we can push these projects forward and bring new light to them in ways that my community, the restoration folks, haven't maybe thought about. So thank you to everybody. I look forward to our month.
Thank you, Chris. Woo!
Hey.
Next up is Nick Bertulis with a brief history of the San Francisco Bay and Delta.
Nick, would you like me to share that now? Is he in here?
And you're muted, but no, there we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
All right, let me share.
Greetings, cyber friends.
Let's see if this works. How's that? Let's see if I can make that big. All right, does that work for you? Am I muted? Is that what we're looking
Yes.
for? All right.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Shake your heads if you can.
Wonderful. I am hailing from the northern region of Salmon Nation, Klickitat country, watershed to the Salish Sea. But I'm here representing the Deep Blue Institute. And I've got another hat, which is the California Center for Natural History. I'd like to share a little reshifting our baseline. Very brief story by numbers. So if you can go to full screen of my image of my face, Heidi. So 100 survivors out of 219 in the Gaspar de Portola expedition, the Spanish-Mexican so-called discovery of San Francisco Bay, where they found thousands of indigenous people from 8 different language groups in a deeply cultivated wilderness. Chochenyo, Karkin, Matsun, Rametush, Rumzin, Tamian, Awaswas, Chalon. I'm trying here. The San Francisco Bay represents 40% of California's land area runoff. 75% of which is forest. 1.9 million acres is California's largest landowner, Sierra Pacific Industries, which is a lumber company. So how we manage our forests has a huge impact in the quality and quantity of the fresh water moving through San Francisco Bay. And forestry is very connected. %90 of San Francisco Bay wetlands have been destroyed in the last 200 years. Zero sea otters left. When the Russians mostly, but the Americans and Spanish decimated and harvested millions of sea otters from San Francisco Bay, which most people associate them with kelp forests, but they were also very associated with saltgrass, sea marsh, the entire food web of mollusks, crabs. And an interesting side note on that, the Golden Gate Bridge has been considered the great white shark gauntlet that no sea otter has been able to return to. So lots of restoration potential there. Point 901 parts per billion is how mercury is measured. The toxicity of mercury is measured. $2,000 pounds of which enter the bay annually, the legacy of the gold rush. Interestingly, 3,000 pounds leaves San Francisco Bay through tidal flushing, but it's still going to take hundreds of years for the ecosystem to normalize. 12 million gallons of raw sewage during storm events when the sewage treatment plants overload spills into San Francisco Bay. All of this leads to 97 endangered species in San Francisco Bay. So I'm hitting you hard here with all the gnarly numbers. I apologize, but if we're going to restore, we need to know what we're restoring to, right? We got to reclaim that baseline. But there's positive news too, which we're on the spearhead of, but we can't talk about the history of San Francisco Bay without talking about the three women in 1961 started Save the Bay, when there was a development spree and all the wetlands were being filled in. Got to give thanks, homage to Catherine Kerr, Sylvia McLaughlin, and Esther Gulick, who really began the post-colonial environmental movement in the San Francisco Bay. "15,000 acres. This is South Bay salt pond wetland restoration, one of the largest wetland restorations ever attempted. It's taking place right now. This is historic. 50 acres used to be a large wetland restoration. So now is a great time to be thinking big. And lastly, but not leastly, 2 octopi species that can be found historically in larger numbers in San Francisco Bay, including the largest octopus in the world, the Great Pacific octopus. Thank you very much. Look forward to meeting and working with you all in the very near future.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was a great overview. And I think up next, I think, Chris, you're back online to talk about your project.
Yep, that's correct. Thank you, Heidi.
All right. Hi again, everybody. Chris Lim again. And I'm here to talk about the Rodeo Living Levee. And I probably don't have to explain, but for this group that sea level rise is coming. And it's something that we are going to have to build resilience into our watersheds. And we have a site that could be a great model for future restoration for us in this county, but also could be a model for other jurisdictions and other cities all around the Bay. And it's hopefully something that we will see because it's one nature-based solution to sea level rise and the associated flooding. So let me share very quickly my screen. And so instead, can people see that? Oh, hold on. Okay. Are folks seeing this? Okay. So instead of building a high vertical seawall, the idea is to build a gently sloping marsh that provides protection to the community or to the critical infrastructure behind it. So what that could look like is something like this. And you can see that we have the bay and the different ecotones in here. We do have this other sort of levee vertical seawall at the back end. This front end can also be oyster reefs and eelgrass, so that can be a part of it. And for our site specifically, here at, this is, if you can see my cursor right here, this is the site where we want to be placing our living levee. This is actually, for folks that aren't familiar, this is the Rodeo Sanitary District. So you can see that this is probably, we're talking maybe 2050 or maybe even earlier, that the sanitary district is going to be flooded. So we want to protect the critical infrastructure. And by building this levee, we could do that. And so the sanitary district will also be putting their effluents into the marsh, and that would further polish their water and provide the water quality benefits as well. So I think that's the time that I'll have for my project and for the Living Shoreline or Living Levee. And we hope that this becomes a model for other areas around the bay.
Unfortunately, Chris, it looks like we were looking at the wrong screen, but I was behind the scenes trying to make sure links were put out. So I don't know if you want to run through those screens again.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. I didn't catch it. Sorry. There we go.
Okay.
Let's just look at them again real fast. There's time, I think. I'll be
We'll
short.
make time. We'll make time.
Okay, sorry. So very quickly, this is sort of the schematic diagram of what that living levee would look like. You can see that this vertical seawall or the vertical levee here would be a lot higher if it weren't for this marsh that we put in front. So we can look at the ecotones here and what that would look like. So this is also the back part of that vertical levee. And then this front piece can also be oysters and eelgrass. So you can see the ecotones and how this could protect the communities in the back. And I'll show you that here. So for folks, this is the Rodeo Sanitary District. And by building our levee right here in this area, this map is actually showing the sea level rise and how in maybe 40 years or 50 years, or even less actually, maybe 2050, that you'll have bay waters inundating the facility. So by building this living levee, we're able to protect the critical infrastructure of the Rodeo Sanitary District behind it. And then we also get the benefit of the sanitary district putting their wastewater into the marsh and further polishing that for the water quality benefits. Should we
Thank you
take
so
three, or is that good?
I think that really covered it, Chris. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And I just want to make sure everybody realizes that beneficial fill is now allowed in the Bay Area and in the San Francisco Bay because of the CCRCD. So this is a huge business opportunity. And Chris has done a great job giving us a quick overview. And thank you very much for the time.
No, thank you. Yeah, and thanks to Tim and Graham. I see you out there. They're our partners at the Coon.
So next up is Jay and Charles with the Rodeo Living Waterfront, which also includes a subject that they're extremely knowledgeable about called the Selby Slag. Jay and Charles, take it away.
Yes, Selby Slag.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, I just real briefly, I just want to let you know about Selby Slag, which is this gray area here next to just north of the pier, between the pier and the Carquinez Bridge. You see an asphalt layer there. It's kind of like a sigmoid shape slab of asphalt. Underneath that, and with is 2.5 million tons of refinery slag, metals refinery slag. So it has lead, cadmium, nickel, copper, zinc, arsenic, antimony, everything that didn't come out from the Selby's smelter that had the highest chimney. Eventually they had to put a chimney in to disperse the pollutants from their refining. So they were refining gold from placer mining, silver from the Comstock lode, and actually gold from the Yukon even came in there, and lead and copper, all these kind of things for 100 years from 1871 to 1972. So right now that is open to the bay. And if you can take a look at, you see Cummings Skyway on the east side of the highway, there's actually, and then you look down, there's some tanks just near Selby Slag, right there. Yes, that's a canyon with a creek coming in from a large valley, and it's about a 300-foot canyon, and with a creek going right under Selby Slag. So that's been washing, seasonally washing out the heavy metals into the bay. There's God knows how much toxins are in the bay right off the Selby Slag, buried in the mud that had been going on. We really don't know because they've done some toxicity studies, the Department of Toxic Substances Control. They've done toxicity studies, but they've never looked at anything into the bay at all. So their proposal is to put a seawall on the bay side of the slag that's a sheet metal seawall buried into the bay mud with some pylons. So they're going to be dredging, and that little lip that goes just past underwater on the edge of the slag, they're going to dredge that up and then put this sheet metal seawall in there. And another part of the project is also to put a rerouting pipe under the slag from where the creek goes through the slag. So the creek is Selby slag is mostly fused, but it's there's you know, kind of granular area at the south part of the slag over near the port where the water comes through. So the point is that they could not even imagine how to remove the slag just because it's so mostly fused, you know, so they would have to like do metals cutting, and they've tried that, and it's been very, very difficult. So that's the reason they're not removing the slag or even cutting back the slag a little bit to really be able to get into bedrock and have a concrete seawall. So we have real critique about the sheet metal seawall because there was also an sulfuric acid factory right where is being pointed out right now. And that sulfuric acid has a tendency to liberate the heavy metals, just like during the process when they were refining the metals, they used this sulfuric acid that came from heavy crudes and coal, the high sulfur coal. So they make the sulfuric acid from that. So that's still sitting in there. But we're real concerned about the sheet metal seawall as being highly corrosive by the contents of the slag.
So the question is, this is a Superfund site. The smelter here, when it was active, had lead in the air. If you grazed a horse on the hillside over here for 30 days, you had a 100% death rate. So it was really extraordinarily toxic. What you basically see here is an asphalt cap that was placed in the early 1990s. They came in and said, basically, it's a Superfund site, we have to clean it up. So we actually looked at it at the time, and capping rainwater going through it was 10% of the water that's moving through here. Almost all of it is because of the creek and groundwater moving underneath it. So I told them at the time they would be back because they dredged this area up and looked at the shellfish, and they said they'd come back and survey, and if they were toxified again, they'd have to do further remediation. So we knew at the time that this was going to be a problem, and they did end up having to come back. But why are they coming back now? Well, if you look at the cap here, there's a little line here. This is a sediment, and that line is a dagger pointed right at the water intake. And that's a 80 million gallon a day once through cooling system for the refinery. If that goes down, the refinery will not operate. So they need this dredged. And basically they want to make this a seaport. It's in a future plan. They want to turn this into a seaport. So, you know, why is it happening now? Because we will pay for it. The citizens pay over 80% of the repair. The refinery, which owns the land, pays 20%. But there's not enough money set aside to finish this project. If they put in a wall here made out of metal, the acid on one side and the salt water on the other side will eat that up. They have a 50-year solution for a 10,000-year problem. This is totally the mismatch in engineering is just, it's an insult to science and engineering. So what we basically have is a necessity that they capped this with asphalt, so they had a laydown yard for the refinery. The refinery needed this asphalt. Now the refinery wants this dredged, and they want to be able to use this site for a seaport. So we don't really think that their fix is a proper fix. We think it's an economic boon for the refinery, not really a proper economic and environmental fix. We know that the water needs to be bypassed. We don't think that their shoreline remediation and dredging and everything is appropriate. You dredge in this area, the current through here is going to blow the dredging material up and down the Carquinez Straits. It would be a tragedy.
Sorry, Jay, we're a couple minutes over, so I think you gave a good overview, and just wanted to make sure everybody got this is a Superfund site. The worst categorization of toxic sites in the United States by the EPA. And we're looking to get community action around trying to figure out what the problem is and potentially involve biological solutions with a living shoreline. But we're not at all trying to pretend like we're going to solve this entire thing in a month. This is a $100 million, 25-year plus problem that we're just exploring opportunities, seeing what kind of businesses might be able to be sprung from this, and really make some headway as a community into remediating this site. So thank you both, Charles and Jay. It's been great to hear from you. Next up is Heidi and Dean, I believe, from the Crockett Waterfront Park, place that was just covered in trash a couple days ago. That Heidi has removed that trash and given us an opportunity to restore another part of this area.
Right. Hi, everybody, and thank you. Sorry, I'm running around behind the scenes, so I'm going to just show these sweet pictures of what happened literally last weekend at the Crockett Waterfront. So you can see here that it was literally a dump ground in the bottom corner here, and that we were out there with the Bass Club and the Carquinez Regional Environmental Education Center. And you can see our staff members here, some of our new staff members here. And it went from this to this. So this is why this is a primary project on this list. We are working really hard to get a railroad crossing kept open and a couple other community problems. But the whole issue here is it hasn't been seen. Nothing's been done with it in decades. And now we have a project. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to Dean and let him tell you a little bit more about our project.
All right, Heidi, thank you. I'm not really prepared, but I can certainly talk about the waterfront. This waterfront site has been an area of mixed use for, for almost 100 years. Traditionally, you can see that a blue building behind it. Up until very recently, that was a restaurant, but that restaurant had existed for a very long time. There'd also been a bait shop for fishermen and rowboat rentals traditionally. So it was an area of social gathering and historically also an area where people from the towns of Crockett and Rodeo gathered when there was some kind of, often a big shipper coming down that they would have some kind of event. And so the area for many years has really just been a gravel parking lot. If the area to the left of you can see in the slide. And we started thinking about how great it would be in our community, Crockett particularly, about how great it would be if we could turn it into more of an open space area. And it's a unique opportunity, I think, because the space down there across the railroad tracks, but it's a very unusual space in that you really have a coming together of a lot of things. As I said, you have these coming together of these historical elements. You have heavy, large industry with a C&H sugar refinery, which is just behind the person who's taking this photograph, not very far away. You also have municipal services in the sense of the sewage treatment plant, right? So this is definitely not a wilderness site. You also have the Crockett Bass Club, which is a 100-year-old, largely social organization. And you have Creek, the group I'm involved with and on the board of, the Carquinez Regional Environmental Education Center, which has its native plant and pollinator plant nursery right down on the site too. And so what we're looking for is an innovative solution for moving forward to turn this back into a space that's more usable by the community. For many years, it was pretty much a place for dumping garbage and also moribund vehicles. And it also was inhabited by a large number of just squatters. Right now we have a kind of a blank slate, and as Heidi has shown, just in this process, there was a huge amount of progress made last week. But really, it's been a almost 2.5-year process, of which well over $1 million has been spent on cleaning up the site and removing the trash and the stuff that was filling it up. So right now, nature pours a vacuum, but with this beautiful vacuum, this beautiful almost blank slate, not quite done, but 95% so as far as the cleanup goes. And we want to move forward with doing something innovative for the community. It could be completely nonprofit park. It could be some kind of a partnership. As I said, this site has always been a mixed use site. And also it's an incredible nexus for all kinds of different kinds of There's the railroad tracks down there. They've been down there. Obviously, this used to be the main artery. It still is a main artery waterway, but it used to be the main waterway to get from the coast to the interior of California. You have the I-80 corridor, which is a major national a road. And you also have the nexus right here, right next to the site of 3 major trail systems, the Bay Trail, the San Francisco Ridge Trail, and also the Carquinez Loop Trail. They all come together right here by the bridge. So
Dean,
yeah.
Dean, this has been extremely informative. Thank you so much. Sorry. But we do need to switch to the next person. And I'm going to ask that everybody please be aware of timing. We just have about 3 minutes so that we'll have the opportunity to go in more depth in our breakout rooms. I love the passion that exists here. It's really exciting to be around. Next up is the water quality with drones, with Will of Sequence Environmental.
Hey there, everybody. I hope I'm on ready to go here. So I'd like to talk to you quickly about rapid and targeted characterization of water quality with a retrofitted off-the-shelf aerial drone. So I have been, let me see if I can move myself forward. I'm a bit of a reformed environmental consultant. About $25 million a year is spent, in my opinion, inefficiently and ineffectively monitoring waters in California. I've been part of plans to developing plans and myself driven, parked, walked, waited to collect water samples. Most of these budgets involve a lot of consultant time, sitting in trucks on the 580, looking for parking. And so the water that is then collected goes to slow, costly, and antiquated centralized lab analyses. And then the results are often buried, overly complex or just unintuitive or not accessible to stakeholders. So I see these as barriers to informed stakeholder engagement. I'm looking to thoughtfully disrupt the industry a bit and bring in a kind of a building block three component approach with remote sampling with aerial drones to speed things up. I'm hoping we can get 10 times as many samples for a given budget, implement or bring in targeted diagnostics. So desktop qPCR instruments, new sensor packages, other things to cut out the aerial drones that better align with the kind of questions we're asking, and then present that information intuitively. So I have a provisional patent submitted as of yesterday for an aerial drone retrofit that can get water to meet data quality standards consistent with what's called the clean hands, dirty hands approach, where everything's kind of isolated and you minimize cross-contamination. And then looking to explore targeted diagnostics, different sensors to answer questions that are relevant for water quality, ranging from microplastics to viruses that are of concern or nitrate sensors, get point data and translate them into intuitive surfaces. So these stoplight red to green, red bad, green good, a lot, and that can be intuitively used by stakeholders to drive engagement and be a little bit more engaged in the management of their coastal and inland water resources. So that's a hopefully sub 3 minute overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have in the breakout room.
Thank you very much, Will, and definitely join him in the breakout room if you're interested in that exciting project. Next up is going to be Nick Bertulis again, this time with the pollution farming or the ecosystem vision he's bringing to the table. He might even be renaming it.
Greetings, everyone. Once again, Deep Blue Institute, we are looking to develop the evolution of our floating wetland infrastructure. We have also a provisional patent granted through a patent cooperative that's open source to educational and nonprofit, but pools the royalties into the cooperative. It's called OU812. And our floating wetland also has a nitrate sensor, and we have an agreement with a commitment from Regen Network that is using blockchain technology to monetize ecosystem services. In this case, it would be the data from the nitrate sensor that we would like to prototype the hardware. So it's an IoT, Internet of Things sensor that is dealing with both the partially treated wastewater entering the bay from the dozens of wastewater treatment plants, to the raw sewage overflow, to the runoff from agriculture. And so we're looking at the spectrum of deployment from upstream to Chinampas, like carbon farming, regenerative aqueous carbon farming, where juvenile salmonids can swim and fatten up in these analog agricultural wetlands, inspired by the ancient floating agriculture systems of Mexico City, all the way downstream to floating salt marshes, to subsurface eelgrass beds, everything, every infrastructure edge that has been hardened, whereby we've lost a tremendous amount of ecosystem function because of that hardscape. We can maintain those massive rock levees and crib walls, but we can soften them with modular, deployable, towable wetland systems, some of which have non-toxic marine foam, and some of them which have only natural materials. It just depends on the application. So we're really just going to focus on developing the narrative, visuals, prototyping, and software for actually iterating some meta transactions. So thank you.
Thank you, Nick, so much.
For
Appreciate
your time,
that.
and look forward to more.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate your time and sharing with us that vision, bud. Next up is Charlie Deist of robotic algae removal.
Hey, John. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. Earlier, Nick gave me something new to be afraid of when I go swimming in the bay, the Great Pacific Octopus. I had no idea that such a thing ever existed here. And now I've got mixed feelings about this whole restoration project. But no, seriously, kidding aside, I've been interested in the Bay for a long time. I've grown up in the Bay Area my whole life. Only in the last 10 years that I've started to really get involved, both with sailing and also as a seasteader. And I won't go too much into seasteading, but the concept that I'm presenting, the robotic algae removal, came out of a project that I first got involved with when I was exploring the possibilities for cities on the ocean. So, no big deal. That was a long-term vision, but it also came with an incremental strategy. And so I decided just in my own life that I wanted to get more immersed in San Francisco Bay, learn to sail, learn the local ecosystem. And John, you and I were out at the Delta a couple of weeks ago, and just kind of gunk-holing around from marina to marina. And I'll try a screen share here. Let's see, let me pop over and let's see if this works. This is probably gonna go to my email first, but no, there, can you see my my screen with the, so this was at my favorite marina in the Delta, Pirate's Lair. And just since the last time I'd been there, their algae problem had gotten a lot worse. And you can look up in the news, Discovery Bay, all around the Delta, the toxic algae blooms are coming earlier in the year before the warmer temperatures arrive. And it's only getting worse. You know, dogs are dying from swimming in the water and ingesting it. And so the concept for the algae removal relies on a technology that was originally designed for really any body of water, but in the ideal areas with a lot of wind. Because what it's doing is powering a kind of high energy conversion process, purely mechanical and resulting in no sort of chemical residues. It's converting algae into a paraffin wax, basically something that you could put in a kerosene lantern or in a biodiesel engine. And it relies on the wind to make it a positive sum equation. Normally with biofuels, you have the inputs costing more than what you get in output. And so it's not worth it. But that happens with corn ethanol and a lot of these other subsidies. But the inventor of the person who holds the patent on this concept, who I met when I was at seasteading, has been increasingly exploring the possibilities for using it not just as a way to sort of make a profit off of a sustainable energy source, but also to remediate some of these areas like you have in Florida, big toxic algae blooms, and now increasingly in the Delta. So this was actually, this is my wife, who's the hacker on the project. She's a grad student in physics at UC Berkeley, and our newborn baby, Claire. In the background, it might look like a grassy field. That's actually a combination, the symbiotic relationship between duckweed, azolla, and algae that has been so problematic. And it's a problem of excess nutrients and excess CO2. So the robot, this is up close on that, but the robot.
Could you wrap up in 15 seconds, bud?
Sure can.
Thank you, Charlie.
This is just a sneak peek. In the course of the next 6 weeks, we're going to be fleshing out plans for small groups to be able to build their own from cheap materials that are available at a Home Depot or Lowe's. And in the process, we'll hopefully be able to build a prototype here in the Bay Area. There's currently one operating in Pennsylvania. And if you're interested, come check out the breakout room. We've got more opportunities for people to get involved.
Thank you so much, Charlie. A really exciting project. Next up is a vision that might actually transform education with by DNA sampling in your own backyard. So it's Damon of Barcode the Lake. Damon, take it away.
All right. Hey, everybody. So my project is Barcode the Lake, which is, if you guys are not familiar with Lake Merritt, this is the primary focus point of this project. Lake Merritt's a tidal basin attached to the San Francisco Bay. It's basically the birthplace of the study of marine invasives in the 1960s due to its proximity to this major global port. The body of water has been dammed, dredged, had sewers run into it, and just about anything else that's ever come out of Oakland has run through this body of water and then out into the rest of the bay. It's a compelling view. If you look at what's going on there, especially the organisms, into what Anthropocene environments look like. As many of the organisms are not from the West Coast, you basically have a sampling of organisms from all over the world now living into some degree of harmony in this tidal basin. So Barcode the Lake, what we're hoping to do is basically take interested community members and allow them to participate in building our knowledge of the organisms that live in and around Lake Merritt by generating DNA barcodes from these organisms and doing documentation with iNaturalist and also collecting organisms when appropriate to do further studies with. In order to do conservation, you really must know and be able to identify what is there now. And that's something that a lot of projects kind of miss. We get a surface skim of what organisms are there, but this really looks to get that deep dive into identifying the organisms. So this project's going to basically use kind of a leading edge biological technique to then contribute novel data to the scientific community about what is right at Lake Merritt. The beauty of this is a project that then could be ported to other locations and allowing them to basically get a deep dive in there. The big focus though is on getting the community open access to learn these skills and techniques. So anybody from basically the street could come in, learn to extract DNA, amplify DNA, done and analyze the data. And the whole goal here is that conservation stewardship starts with being able to describe who is there, and this project engages the public to do that. Really quick, I'll give you guys an image from some of the organisms in Lake Merritt, just so that you're kind of like aware, because I know when people hear Lake Merritt, they're like, okay, it's just gonna be a gross pile of water with stuff in it. But here's a quick little snapshot of some of those organisms that live in Lake Merritt. Some of these just got scientific names within the last decade. So there's a lot of work to be done here. I'm constantly sending these out to academics, but this is something that community members could really contribute a lot more than they're able to right now. And that's what I've got for you guys.
Thank you so much, Damon. Super exciting, awesome, fun stuff. Citizen science turns into transforming education. Love it. Next up is the Marine Lagoon Restoration Team of Judy and Aurora. And I'm not sure if Monique is here as well.
I hope so. Okay, I'll turn on my light. It's starting to get to be nighttime here. Hi, everybody. So if I share my screen, does that work?
It should work.
Awesome. Well, let me see.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Can you see the Galenas watershed count map?
I don't see anything shared. Did you hit share after you hit the green button?
Mm-hmm.
There we
go.
Okay, awesome.
And I believe I just promoted Monique, hopefully.
Okay, well, this, and can you see my cursor moving around?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so this little body of water, this is the San Pablo Bay, part of San Francisco Bay, and this is Buck's Landing here. China Camp is right over here. Has anyone been to see the Swifts coming in?
I've anchored out by China Camp. I don't know what the Swifts are.
There's like 10,000, some people saw 10,000 swifts. It's called VAUX, the Vo Swift, and they're birds and they're migrating, and there's some concrete stacks out down around here along in McNear's Beach, and the swifts dive into the chimney stacks. They stay there for a while on their migration, and by the thousands going into this very small stack, you can watch them. It's powerfully beautiful, and they've been there the past week or so. Okay, so just that's another point about how fabulously blessed we are to still have so much wildlife here among us in this Bay Area. And here we are, we have this creek. It's actually an estuary, and it's called a creek, which is interesting, but so it's coming between, it's a tidal flow between the bay and these freshwater systems here that used to be part of this large marshland that's now a private airport. A sports complex just got approved. Smart trains going through here, and there's a golf course owned by the county, which they could decommission. But there's some fabulous restoration happening over here at the sanitary district, and that this creek up here, Miller Creek, well, I'm sorry about if I don't know the name of McGinnis. Thank you. The McGinnis Marsh restoration is happening, and I think it's a mitigation for the San Francisco airport.
Sorry to interrupt, Aurora. I don't know if you've said anything about your
I
project.
know,
We have a minute
sorry.
left.
I'm just gonna, sorry. Okay,
Thanks.
This little used to be part of a brackish tidal estuary, marshland, spring water, fresh spring water fed lagoon, where Frank Lloyd Wright put a monument, which is
Aurora. This is in Marin, just right north of like San Quentin, San Rafael.
Mark.
Yes.
Could we let Aurora speak just because of the timing? We have breakout rooms. I apologize to interject, but
Oh, sorry, John.
That's yes, exactly. This is the Marin Civic Center Lagoon. In 2002, John Todd presented at the Pioneers, which have been happening annually at this lagoon. It's part of the Civic Center rents out space on the lawn around the lagoon for festivals and things like that. We were sitting with John Todd afterwards and looking at our commons and recognized how impoverished it was and how sad that was. And we still see this today, and it's getting worse. There were thousands of fish that died in the lagoon just August 10th because they removed a bunch of vegetation, parts. I guess it's an invasive plant, Ludwigia, but because there's no vegetation around the bank of our Civic Center lagoon, the plants had grown in, and when they removed them, there was an increase in, well, the siltation from the bottom came up and caused deoxygenation, but the plants being removed also caused less oxygen. So there was a big die off of fish. It was very sad. This is a picture. I don't know if you can see the Cascades from 1963. And there was this aesthetic, you know, that actually is kind of like a Bay Area hallmark, with Frank Lloyd Wright doing this here, but Halprin, Lawrence Halprin's architecture. And you see that it is man enhanced, but this is a freshwater spring fed lagoon. And this water was to be pumped up by that spire onto the living roof up there, living promontory, to fountains and cascade all the way down to the lagoon here and be part of a very large kind of a living building. We now are dealing with large E. coli blooms every year and sick water, sick people. And we're trying to find a pathway that
Could you wrap it up in 15 seconds?
Yes,
Aurora? Sorry,
yes.
it's
We're
been
trying to find a
over like 2.5
pathway
minutes.
to create a water quality and a beautiful place. And so we came up with these we didn't come up with them, but we've been pursuing and demonstrating these floating islands. We came up with an idea for 100% natural, because we got tired of plastic, and we luckily found Monique Sonokui. And we went to several indigenous folks around here and asked them to help us with tule weaving and, you know, different techniques. But we did find Monique, and, you know, and she helped us with this design. For
Monique's
a
an
floating
incredible
island
resource. I
bioraft.
have to cut you off. I apologize, Aurora. You've got a few minutes over. Please, if you want to know more about this amazing project, join them in the breakout room. You know what I mean? Thank you very much, Aurora. Next up is our trash monitoring. It was listed as trash monitoring with drones. We're figuring out as we go that might be an issue privacy-wise, but we're going to have the young associate board member, Ryan Schering, take it from here. Ryan?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm a farmer and a software engineer. My farming specializes in aquaponics. And on the software engineering side, I live in a rural area, of course, and illegal dumping is a big issue for us, as well as a lot of the Bay. And this is something, first off, brought to my attention by Ben Wise's own program within the RCD. But also, I wanted to go through with this to kind of solve some of these issues from the technological side of things. We have a really unique kind of situation in which we can combine tech and restoration that we don't have in a lot of different areas. So just getting right to it, the plan for what I wanted to do was inspired by an app called Literati, in that we would identify hotspots of illegal dumping by allowing people or drones, depending on what we were able to get around security-wise, to report when we see a piece of illegal dumping. Using image processing with image classifiers, we'll be able to tell whether that is the same piece of trash or a new dumping site entirely. By measuring the frequency, we'll be able to make data-driven solutions on what kind of illegal dumping problems we have in certain areas, and where we can talk to our local officials about where to act most. The basis of what I wanted to build was a mobile app for reporting and kind of user input in terms of where these dumping sites are. And I wanted to make a web app that includes a Google Map API that would allow for anybody to see where these dump sites are. So there's a lot of places you can go with that. When making an app like this, I think it's important that you make it scalable for your level of participation. But that's the basis of what I wanted to do. I would love to branch out into something like drones or complicated image classifiers, but we'll of course see what we can do with the time and resources at hand. And that shortly closes my time here. I'll yield the rest of my time to later speakers. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ryan. Much appreciated, bud. Thank you so much. Next up is Oh, oops, forgive me, I dropped that down. Next up is the Expand Carbon Farming Action Team with Ben Weiss.
Hey everyone, my name is Ben Weiss. I'm the Ag Conservation Manager here at Contra Costa Resource Conservation District. For those of you who don't know, Contra Costa RCD has a long history of working with farmers and ranchers to do voluntary conservation on their farms and ranches. What we aim to do through this project is continue to work with farmers, but also identify some ways that we can expand what's called carbon farming. Just a quick snapshot for those of you that don't know what carbon farming is. It's no different than regular farming. You put plants in the ground and you're pulling carbon from the atmosphere. What we do with this program is identify ways that farmers can better pull carbon from the air by way of introducing different management practices or managing their farms just a little bit differently. At issue is that to kind of work with these farmers on a highly individualized level and really dig into their operation requires some pretty significant time, which as a small special district, we don't quite have the funding for all the farmers we have in Contra Costa. So we're looking to really tackle that problem and think creatively. How can we provide more reliable funding for us and then expand it up to other RCDs across the state so that we can sequester more carbon on working lands like we already are, just do it better, and scale it up for all sorts of benefits ranging from air quality, water quality, soil quality, soil health, certainly. It's an exciting project with a lot of potential. We just need to figure out how to scale it up. There you go. I gave you more time, John.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben and Ryan, are giving us more time in the balance sheet. Appreciate that. You cut me off guard because I didn't have my thing up. Next up is Elizabeth with Local Carbon Network.
Thank you. I wanted to say how much I appreciate hearing about everybody's project. Boy, I would love to, in a different environment, have a beer with every one of you. Every one of you, I was thinking of people I knew, people who could help you, things that you should know about. I'm Elizabeth Pierce, and I'm here on behalf of the Local Carbon Network. The Local Carbon Network, or LCN, is a social impact project of Berkeley's All Power Lab and SimSoil, a soil health company with products and services for regenerative agriculture out of Solano County. I'm the founder, and SimSoil is going to be the fulfillment arm for the Local Carbon Network. The Local Carbon Network is a membership or subscription that helps a family sequester 1 ton of carbon dioxide. Members become basically small-scale carbon farmers with the help of a monthly package. And that package, the material inside the package, including the box itself, combined with household food scraps, to sequester as much carbon as 1.2 acres of farmland. The members use their kitchen waste to make biologically active compost, and the key to that is biochar and the biological starter and finisher that SimSoil provides, as well as woody material. Just to step back from this for a second, in today's environment, you find that a lot of people are at home and thinking about resiliency. A lot of consumers have planted victory gardens or resiliency gardens. Sometimes it's for the fresh produce. Sometimes it's for the relaxation of working with the soil and with the plants. And sometimes it's part of the homeschooling of children that are now at home. LCN offers a meaningful support for all of these. I'll be working with Hack the Bay and Delta to try and gain a critical mass of 1,000 members through corporate sponsorships. Just so that you know, we're soil nerds, not tech nerds. We're looking for all the help we can get on the technology side. That's it.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Appreciate that. That was very succinct as well. Heidi, I believe the floor is yours. You said you wanted to give some context.
Okay, I just wanted to let everybody know I've decided to give everybody a 5-minute break since it's such a long meeting before we start our breakout sessions. So can we all shift about 5 minutes on that? Is that all right with you, John?
I saw you took autonomous action, so go rock on with that.
All right. And also we're still having to set them up because we can only work in one meeting at a time. So just to let you know. Also, I have done a quick poll and I just kind of wanted to see how you felt about this and where you were at with it. So I'm going to throw this poll up, and if you guys wouldn't mind taking the quick, easy poll for me, including panelists. All right, let's see if this works. All right, I have launched our poll. Let's see what happens. Is everybody seeing it?
I'm seeing it, yes.
Perfect. Oh, have fun.
How do you vote though?
Somebody's voting because we've got
Yeah, I
got
don't see-
change.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All ballots will be counted.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I was able to vote.
How do
for a
you
minute, and
vote?
then it disappeared.
Apparently, I don't know. It really went
Yeah.
really fast
No.
and it closed itself.
I can't vote.
And I wonder if the panelists are not allowed to vote. Maybe
How do
not.
you vote?
I guess you don't get to vote as a panelist. That's sad.
I feel
It's closed.
disenfranchised.
Back up.
I voted.
I'm so very sorry, everybody. Your votes, hopefully this is not a reflection of our elections, right?
We can just send an email out to panelists and then
Yeah. Sorry about that, panelists. I did not know we were closed out. Let me
I'm
share
gonna
the
threaten
result.
violence.
Right. Don't bring out your fire and pitchforks yet. Okay, so you can see it looks like a lot of people were word of mouth. So that is actually a really good thing. That means that people are talking to one another. A few emails. People extremely enjoyed it. That's a good thing. We didn't have any terribles, so that's good. And it looks like a lot of participation. So thank you all for participating in the poll. We stopped sharing. And I can relaunch it, I wonder, but that's okay. I think we'll send it out. So again, thank you all on behalf of the RCD, and I'm going to hand it back over to John. But again, the breakouts will be 5 minutes later than now. So then you signed up.
Can you
So
put the link back in the chat? Or
I will do it one more time for everybody. Okay, let's see.
And I can't, go video, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. Just want to say thank you, everybody, very much. And hope I wasn't too firm with the time. I was just trying to give us as much time with our breakout rooms as possible. And really look forward to building with you and having a great time creating and innovating and having fun.
And I have a hand raised. Mark, I'll ask you. Mark, can you talk?
I can, but yeah, that was regarding the voting.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much.
That was my first poll. It went really fast. I did not know they ended themselves. So next round we'll do better. All right. That's it.
So we'll
for
see
me.
folks in that Zoom link that Heidi just put in. We'll see folks at like 7:30.
Yeah, let's say 7:35.
Okay, 8-minute break, and sign up on the sign up sheet if you haven't for which breakout room you want to be in. And that includes the link, and it also has the contacts of everybody who is a team lead. In case you can't make the breakout rooms, please reach out and find out more about these really exciting projects.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to end this session, folks. Have a good
Be in
evening.
touch.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
We'll see you folks in the breakout rooms.
Yeah.